Hey there and welcome back into Weather Command on this Friday. Heading into the weekend, we have very dangerous days ahead of us, including today the potential for some intense storms. So let's kick it off with that. A significant severe weather outbreak. It is expected to develop later this afternoon and last through the weekend. We have more than 100 million people, Craig, across 30 states that are on alert.
Yeah, and that's just the severe weather side of it. The tornado outbreak, Marissa, it's possible Saturday across the Gulf Coast states, across the South as well. We've got numerous significant tornadoes possible, and some of these may be long-track tornadoes in the forecast. Then on Sunday, well, that threat moves off to the eastern seaboard, really from Florida all the way up into the Northeast in its final day, slamming the East Coast. At that point, more than 45 million Americans from Florida to the Northeast do face the severe weather threat.
For this multi-day severe weather threat, that is expected to be and will be triggered by a powerful low-pressure system. We have team coverage. I mean, the winds, by the way, from the system alone will likely lead to blizzard conditions in the northern plains and even a dangerous fire weather threat in through the southern plains. So stay with Fox Weather. We have team coverage keeping you informed through the weekend. But until then, it is about the lead up, Craig. And it's also about planning for you and your family. Scenes like this are possible as we head into the weekend and track this powerhouse of a storm system. From the Midwest to the plains, the messaging from the various National Weather Service offices, it is clear. This could be a historic event.
Saw that word in many of those discussions. Here at Fox Weather, we want to make sure that we help keep you safe and do what we can to make you weather aware. Bill Bunting, Operations Branch Chief for NOAA and National Weather Service Storm Prediction Center, joins us now. Thank you for being with us, Bill, this morning. Let's talk. We want to jump right into this because we're watching this low coming out of the Rockies, now at 980 as far as pressure and dropping. That energy is having an effect on so many people all across the country, really, from wind, fire threats, and then, of course, the severe side of this storm.
Yeah, this storm has it all. It's one we've been watching for several days now as it's approaching the central United States. It's an extremely powerful low pressure, as you noted, very strong wind fields throughout the atmosphere. And what's maybe unique about this one compared to a lot of the late winter, early spring storm systems that we see, the moisture is plentiful. And so our fear is all of these ingredients, the wind shear, the moisture, the lift, are going to combine to produce a very explosive and potentially deadly event, beginning this afternoon, continuing overnight, and also on Saturday as you look farther south and east.
Yeah, and, you know, folks may not know, we've been watching the dust storm warning, but the fire threat, folks may not know, Storm Prediction Center, you guys also issue those fire weather outlooks. So we'll be talking about that in through portions of the southern plains. But you mentioned the severe threat that we'll be seeing for today and into the weekend. So let's talk about that a little bit more, Bill, because we did see the expansion, you guys expanding the level 4 threat now from Des Moines through much of Illinois into southeastern Louisiana for today, Missouri for today. And when we talk about the various National Weather Service offices, and for St. Louis, for example, in their discussion, they talk about that unusually strong dry line we'll see by this afternoon, and even some evolving storm structure throughout this event. And today may be a prolific severe weather outbreak, and maybe one of the bigger ones we've seen in recent memory. And Bill, that's just the Midwest. So when we talk about the threats on the table for folks like St. Louis through Champaign, what were some of the things you were looking at and the reasoning then extending that level 4 risk?
Yes, I will just say there are 100 National Weather Service local offices that cover the lower 48 states. 102 of them have an active severe weather threat with this storm system. So it's a very intense system. In the areas there of the mid-Mississippi Valley, the wind shear is off the charts. Just something we don't see very often, even less than once a year. The instability, which is normally something that can be lacking in late winter or early spring severe weather events, is not going to have plenty of that. And because of the unusually far east displacement of the dry line, we could see isolated supercells then giving way to a very intense squall line. And so there could be supercell tornadoes. There could also be what we refer to as the QLCS circulations that can lead to tornado damage and widespread wind damage, likely with gusts in places over hurricane force. And if that's not enough, there is the potential for large hail, given the degree of instability and especially the cold air aloft, which can aid the formation of larger hailstones.
And Bill, we've been talking about this, putting the forecast out there for a number of days. You've gone now back-to-back level 4 storm threat, taking this seriously, trying to get people ready for this. It looks eerily similar to the last time the SPC issued a moderate threat 3 days in advance of a storm, and that was back in March of 2022. What did we learn from that system, and how is that helping us prepare for what we're seeing this weekend?
Yeah, that's a great question. Each severe weather event is different, its own peculiarities, but one thing that we've learned from these types of setups in the past is that they can be intense, they're extremely fast moving, and they continue well after dark. And so I can't stress enough the importance of knowing the forecast, having a plan, and having multiple ways of receiving warnings, including those that can wake you up after dark. It's really important. The two most important factors in surviving severe weather: having a plan and getting the warning in time to take action. And unfortunately, today through Sunday is one of those situations where we need to make sure that folks are prepared and ready to act.
And I want to ask you too, because the last time that we did have a high risk, that was back in May 6th of 2024. It wasn't that long ago. The question, and there have been some questions, could we see a high risk issued for this Saturday, especially when you look at some of the parameters in place and how the atmosphere will be behaving? Granted, there's not a big difference between a level 4 out of 5 or a 5 out of 5 when it comes to dangers. But do you think we'll see that update as we look at Saturday?
It is certainly possible, and I don't say that lightly, because in most storm systems, it's not likely. But this is a different setup. If the storms overnight tonight and through the morning tomorrow are not too expansive, and they don't tend to create clouds and cooler air that could limit the instability, if that doesn't happen, then Saturday definitely has high risk potential. And as you said, and I was going to make the same point, so I appreciate you making it ahead of me, is that level 4, level 5, these are rare events. These are potentially life-threatening situations. It could go to high risk, and in that case, that's the highest level of risk that we can convey, and really points to the danger with this storm system and the importance for everybody in these risk areas, even if you're in a lower threat area, to monitor the forecast and be ready to take action.
And Bill, when we've been talking about this and going through this discussion here at Fox Weather, and of course it's great to have you here, because a lot of these Saturday, timing-wise, maybe during the afternoon. However, you talked about the heat. Heat is energy. It holds more moisture. There's more moisture in place. These may be rain-wrapped. That's got to be a concern for us as well.
Yes, and as you get farther south in these types of severe weather events, it's not uncommon for the storm mode to trend towards what we refer to as a high precipitation supercell. Those are very dangerous. They're extremely intense and long-lived, but the tornadoes are often wrapped in rain, as you noted. And so we stress, and especially with storms moving this fast, don't wait until you see the danger. When you get a warning for your area, take action then. By the time you realize it's approaching your location, it very well could be too late.
And I just wanted to point out real quickly too, when we were talking about the potential upgrade from a level 4 to level 5 for Saturday, we were showing video, by the way, Bill, I don't know if you saw it, that was out of Oklahoma, I believe, right, Craig? That was when we had the tornado that was an EF3, it was out of Bartlesville and Barnesville, Oklahoma, back in May of last year. Really just kind of showing it, you can get scenarios like this, and here it is, thank you, that, when we see this set up, to really pay attention to what the Storm Prediction Center, what you guys, the information you're providing to us, to what our National Weather Service is sharing with us, and the warnings that are going off, because it can result in instances like this.
Yeah, you're exactly right. The Barnesville tornado was an event late in the evening too, which again points to the challenges of seeing it. And we certainly hope that people heed the warnings, and whatever happens meteorologically, that we can really reduce the impact to near zero. But we also know that there will be a lot of severe storms. There will be a lot of areas threatened. And it's just, I can't stress enough, we've got to get the word out, and folks have to take this event seriously. It's going to go through Sunday, but today and tomorrow especially have the potential for some of the most intense severe thunderstorms that we've seen.
And Bill, back in that May 6th event last year that we had, and the 7th, we had training storms, 2 to 4 inches of rain per hour, winds up to 89 miles per hour, hail 3 inches in diameter in some cases. When you think about the parameters that we saw back then and what we could see now, to your point, a lot of people, it's the weekend. They let their guards down. It is spring break for a lot of people. They may be traveling to places they've never been before. So they've got to have a plan, know where to go, what to do with these types of situations. And I think that getting the word out right now ahead of time is critical.
Yes, and I really appreciate your role in helping all of us do that. And with it being a weekend, with it being spring break, folks in areas are not familiar with, maybe they don't know which county they're in at the moment.
Sure.
Really stresses the importance of advanced planning, having multiple warning systems, and just becoming familiar with the areas around you so that when you hear towns mentioned that may be nearby, you know that you may be up next and that now is the time to start thinking about what you're going to do to prepare for those storms.
Yeah, they're going to be moving very, very fast, so those warnings will be going out quickly. We do appreciate everything you and your team do at the Storm Prediction Center. Without you, we'd be lost. So we appreciate you and all of the National Weather Service offices that you work hand in hand with to make sure people are staying safe. So thank you. I know you got a busy day, a busy few days. Bill Bunting, Operations Branch Chief for the NOAA NWS Storm Prediction Center. Thank you so much, Bill. Good luck.
It's a team effort.
Thank you, Bill.
Yeah.